Get started. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for our monthly TAT chat. It's hard to believe it's already December, but we do this once a month to give a chance to connect from a virtual standpoint without everybody getting in their car and having to drive somewhere to learn about what is going on across our upstate region. And today we have a great and important topic and speaker. So I'm very excited about that. Before we do that, I have a couple updates I want to share with you. First is a thank you to our funding partners. You can see the our funding partner page is on the website. Justine is sharing it for you with all of our funding partners. We're very fortunate with TATT at the Top to have more than 100 funding partners, and it is through their support that we are able to do our work across the upstate, to be a convener and a connector around issues that impact economic vitality and quality of life. So want to thank our funding partners for all of your continued support. If you are not a funding partner, don't worry. Justine is going to put a link to our support page, and we also have a direct PayPal credit card page as well if you want to make a contribution. We are a nonprofit organization, so your support is greatly appreciated. It has been a busy year, as always, for us in terms of regional engagements, more than 70 with about 2,250 participants to this point in the year. The big highlights for those of you who have been engaged, you know that we have been spending a couple years working on a behavioral health initiative in partnership with the Upstate Region's Office of the Department of Public Health and with the South Carolina Office of Rural Health. And that work came to fruition with a creation of some resources earlier this year. And then most recently, we completed work with the South Carolina Continuum of Care around a homelessness and housing forum, and then some recommendations for how to address some of the elements that make it hard to have affordable housing in the upstates. So we also have done our downtown academies this year, going to some great places across the upstate. We have a schedule for the spring that we're very excited about, so we hope you will plan on joining us for one of those. You can sign up for our newsletter if you are not already subscribed, though I expect most of you already are subscribers to our newsletter. Our topic today is economic development in the upstate. And before we introduce our featured speaker, I would like to welcome for a few words Tyler Teresa, who since June has served as the regional administrator for Region 4, which includes the upstate, of the U.S. Small Business Administration. So, Tyler, we have not had a chance to meet in person, but I appreciate you being on the TAT chat and would love to have you share for a minute with us.
Dean, thank you so much for having us. Sorry I'm doing this from my car. I wish I would have been able to find a better spot, but I'm actually currently in Forsyth County, Georgia right now. We just got done doing a big manufacturing visit there. But Dean, as you mentioned, I'm the new regional administrator for the Southeast for the SBA. I cover 8 states. They include Kentucky, Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, Alabama. South Carolina, especially the upstate's a special place in my heart because I call Greenville, South Carolina home. So my wife and I, we moved here in 2021. I'm originally from Florida. She's originally from Asheville. And we found Greenville and the upstate, and we just fell in love. So it's been home for us ever since. So I really appreciate all you guys do. We also have Earl on the call. Earl's with the SBA. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with him because everyone is. Earl does an amazing job of making sure that we get all of our messaging out across the upstate to make sure people know what the SBA does and how we can help. Just for those that don't know, the SBA does consulting with their small business development centers. We do we do funding, right? Capital, we raise capital. Well, we don't. We do funding with capital with our SBA loans, the 7A, 504. We also do crisis. God forbid a hurricane comes through like we happen in Hurricane Helene. The SBA is the largest lender of disaster aid in the federal government. So there's a lot of great resources. One thing I want to touch on is the SBA under Administrator Kelly Loeffler and President Trump have renewed focus in bringing back manufacturing to the United States. So much that the SBA created a brand new office called the Office of Manufacturing and Trade. And the programs that we're pushing out through the SBA, it's only going to help the upstate bring more jobs with manufacturing and create a better ecosystem. So if you guys need anything, I'm going to try and drop my contact information in the chat. I would love to hear from you guys. Reach out to me. I grab coffee, visit your guys' shop, and I would just like to learn more about you. But without further ado, I'll turn it back to you, and I'm looking forward to this meeting.
Great. Thank you, Tyler. And a perfect segue to our guest speaker. But before we do that, I did want to mention to folks, if you would like to put your name and your organization in the chat, please feel free to do so, especially if you're new to us. Let us know. We're glad to have you. So, Tyler, thank you so much for being with us, and we look forward to meeting you in person and anything that we can do to support what you all are doing. You're right, Earl is great. He is definitely a gem here in the upstate, and we're very fortunate to have him and you here with us today and as part of the upstate.
Hey, thanks for that, Dean. I also wanted to point out that my supervisor, so thanks for the kudos. You know, she's on the call as well. Melissa Lindler, the district director here in South Carolina, is also with us today. I wanted to point that out as well.
Oh, good.
I
thank
apologize. I did not, once again, I'm taking this from my phone, so I did not see Melissa. Melissa's the new district director for the state of South Carolina, and I can assure us we're in good hands with her. She is great and a huge addition to the SBA. So thank you, Melissa, for being on.
No, thank you, Tyler. We're so happy to have you as our leader for this office. We look forward to all the great things that you are putting in place for us. And Earl, you are doing a great job. Y'all are in great hands with Earl. I wish we had 10 or 15 Earls across the state, but he's doing a great job. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, Melissa, thank you, and welcome to you as well. So with that, John, perfect timing. They said, the focus is to bring manufacturing back to the United States. And funny thing about that, I don't think it ever necessarily left the upstate. The upstate has been such a manufacturing hub for forever. And a lot of the emphasis has been in the last 25 years, hard to believe, since at a regional scale with the creation of the Upstate Alliance. And you have been the director of the Alliance now for 10 years. For those who don't know, TATT at the Top was housed in the Upstate Alliance office for our first 8 or 9 years. So I got to see firsthand what John and his team do, and we have been partners on many things. If you think of the Upstate as a product, people always ask, what's the difference between the Upstate Alliance and TATT at the Top? And Upstate Alliance is an external marketing organization marketing the Upstate to the world. Bring your business to the upstate of South Carolina, and then TATT at the Top is more internal product development. How do we work collaboratively to address those issues that support business, also support the quality of life for our residents here today? So I'm thrilled to have my good and longtime friend and supporter, John Lummus, on as our guest today. And John, I'll let you share your screen and take it away.
All right. Thank you, Dean, so much. Thank you all for having me today. Let me try to do this quickly. Hold on 1 minute. Let me stop that real quick. Let me do this again. Sorry about that. Technology passed me by somewhere along the way.
We were practicing. For those who came on, you saw John practicing earlier. Tiffany was in helping.
There we go.
So, all right.
Here, I can move these things now. Okay.
You're on.
All right. Well, thank you all so much. I'm John Lummus. I'm with the Upstate SC Alliance, and I've looked at the names of all the folks that were on here, and I know some of you, but there's a good number that I don't know. So I will give sort of an overview of what we are and what we do. As Dean said, we are the Regional Economic Development Group for the Upstate 10 counties. And we have been in existence for 25 years now. We came together because private sector leaders and public sector leaders felt that we would be a lot more successful marketing ourselves as a region at that time of about 1.2 million people. Irv Welling was one of the founders. He's on this call, along with others that felt that was an important thing to do. And then we've grown over the years. We still have that main focus of recruiting new business and industry here. We work closely with 10 at the Top and Dean also a few years back on a talent attraction initiative. So not only are we trying to recruit new business into the region, we are working to recruit new talent. And actually recruiting the new talent, it seems a little bit easier because we've got 81 people a day moving into the Upstate region. And we can take credit for that, but I don't know that we can really take credit for that. It has to do with our quality of life and beauty and other things. So, so again, I thank y'all. I've worked very closely with Dean and his staff over my entire time being here. They're a great partner. And I think Dean described it perfectly that we, work very closely together. They help to build and nurture the Upstate region internally, and it helps us to be able to work to bring businesses in externally to the region. So anyway, that's a good start off. I do want to start off by talking, I know our friend at the SBA was talking about manufacturing. We still are a manufacturing region. Of course, we were the textile capital of the world for 100 plus years. And when the textile industry started moving away in the 80s and 90s, now not all of it has moved away as some people would think. We still have some incredibly strong textile manufacturers here, but as that started to occur, we really put a focus on recruiting, advanced manufacturing into the region. This slide shows that in the last 5 years, about 12.3 billion in capital investment. And that is from new projects as well as existing projects doing expansions. And of course, you see names of companies that you know very, very well, BMW, Michelin, Milliken, but a number of new ones that have come in, Elring, Klinger, Milo's, Ice-T, Oshkosh. Arthrex came a little bit before that, I guess. Keurig, Dr. Pepper, Nissen Foods. So a number of companies have located here. And again, this doesn't include the 2025 numbers because we don't have those completely calculated yet, but 160 companies announced new locations here in the last 5 years. Very interestingly, 38% of the projects are from international companies, and 53% of the new jobs are from new companies, which really bucks the trend nationally. When you look at economic development, normally communities have 70 to 80% of new or of jobs created through existing industries. So, and we continue to recruit a lot of international companies. So, of course, we all know where we are, but the green area, that's our region that we're in, the 10 counties that are the same 10 counties as 10 at the top. Current population of close to 1.6 million, but we draw in our labor force out of the Atlanta area, the Charlotte area, of course, and throughout the state of South Carolina up into North Carolina. So what I wanted to do today is kind of give an example in this PowerPoint of how we sell the Upstate, what our assets are, and then we have 6 target markets that we go after in recruiting, but I wanted to go through one of them that's obvious, which is the automotive industry, and talk a little bit about our assets. But this is what we would show to prospects that are coming in from outside the country or outside the region to try to sell them on doing business here in the Upstate. So again, these are things that you've probably seen before, but within 1 day's driving distance of the Upstate of South Carolina, there are about 110 million people within that circle. Of course, you get up into the Northeast, down into the middle of Florida, across the Mississippi River. The importance of that is these are customers for businesses that are coming in here. If you're a food company, this would be where you would be selling your food products within this circle. If you're an automotive supplier, this is where you would be able to deliver parts in 1 day to an OEM or to a customer of an OEM. So my friends at BMW always tell me they can drive a lot further than that in 1 day, but this is for a truck going 50 miles an hour. That was supposed to be a joke. Anybody can laugh that wants to. Okay. So again, 1 day's driving distance. As y'all are probably well aware, in the U.S., most of our goods are moved by truck. We do have rail. We do a lot of rail, but most by truck. So our connectivity through the interstate highway system is so important for us. Of course, we have I-85, which runs directly through the middle of the Upstate, and it's the backbone of a business for the southeastern U.S., but also good connectivity through I-77, through I-20, through 26, and of course, in the lower part of the state, I-95, but very well connected to market. So location and connectivity is very important. Also, we have excellent assets in regard to making us a very strong intermodal area for business. We combine in the Upstate GSP Airport, which other than doing domestic air and domestic air travel, we do international cargo flights in and out. So a lot of companies utilize that area that we're flying to, Mexico, Europe, China, on a weekly basis. Also, we have the inland port facility in Greer that has expanded incredibly since it was first formed in 2013. It's really started so we could get BMWs down to the port of Charleston, but now BMW is only about 33% of the traffic that is using the inland port. So a lot of our companies have utilized that. And, the beauty of that is trucks bring containers to the inland port, and then they take it by rail to the port of Charleston, 212 miles. And then vice versa, containers off ships come in the port of Charleston, then by rail up to the inland port. So incredibly great situation there. Of course, we have the largest airport in the world in Atlanta, about 2 hours and 15 minutes down the road. And then the 6th busiest airport in the world now in Charlotte, right up the road. So we are very well positioned for business by air travel, by truck and car travel, and by rail in South Carolina to do business. So again, our port in Charleston, number 2 performing port by Business Facilities Magazine, deepest port on the U.S. East Coast at 52.5 feet at low tide. We serve 70 ports around the world. And again, I talked about the inland port, but that has been a huge part of what we do in regard to international trade and, helping move goods and services overall. So our GSP airport is an excellent airport, a highly awarded airport for the quality of service and just the convenience of it. You go to 20 cities and 23 airports, a lot of connections to Charlotte and Atlanta, but also Dallas, New York, Washington, D.C., many Chicago, Detroit, many other destinations. And we have the 160,000 square foot commercial cargo facility there that also has cold storage facilities there for companies that would need that. So I love this map, and our friends at our utility companies also love this map, but it shows where people are living and where people are located. South Carolina has been the #1 state for inbound migration in the U.S. the last couple of years. I mentioned about 81 people a day moving to the Upstate, and it's pretty incredible. And we are going to continue to see that growth over the next few years. And that's very important because that's our workforce. So I want to talk a little bit about our business climate. South Carolina is always seen as one of the best states for doing business in the country. And a lot of that is because of the really good relationships between government and business, starting at the state level, going down through the local level. But great state for manufacturing, top performing port, as I talked about a minute ago, business incentive programs, favorable regulatory environment. We really work hard to be pro-business, and that's one of the reasons why we have been successful in recruiting so many of these companies. We're also a very international area, 579 foreign-owned companies from 36 countries. You see, of course, Germany being at the top of the list because of the automotive suppliers, and really started back in the 60s with a lot of the European companies coming in and selling textile machinery to our industry here. But, very diverse in that Japan, Canada, have a number of them mentioned, of course, Europe, China, and go on down the list. But this shows that international companies want to do business here. They have come here. They have been successful. Companies like Michelin and BMW have told their friends what a great place this is, and have represented that worldwide. And more companies want to come here to locate. And it's mainly because really, well, it's a lot of reasons, but our skilled workforce makes these companies successful. So 3 things that I want to mention. I was over in Europe last week, and the fact that we're a right to work state, don't have unions, that's an important thing to not only companies in the Northeastern US, but European companies, because they don't want to deal with that. It was interesting. I was in France, and they were having a transit strike from the union the day that I was there. And when we start talking about unions, they were like, we wish we didn't have them. But anyway, competitive tax structure, I think that South Carolina rates very well in that. And we still are a leader in low cost utilities, particularly electricity. So #1 factor for companies that are going to look every time is workforce. They can say it's something else, but it's workforce. We have about 762,000 people in our workforce. Really good net migration I mentioned the number of people moving into the GSA, CSA, and over 25,000 graduates per year from our post-secondary institutions. We have 2,415 manufacturers in the Upstate, employing almost 120,000 people. So when we're selling to these companies, they know that where they're going to find their workforce is not from the unemployed, but it's going to be from these folks that are already skilled in our labor force, and also those that are going through our technical college programs, our career center programs. Those are the people they know that they're going to be able to hire and that they want to hire. And another of our big advantages is our engineering strength, 2.36 times the national concentration of industrial engineers. And, we've always been a manufacturing area. There's always been the need for engineering, and that just continues. It gives us a lot of strength. Of course, our research universities throughout the region, Clemson being right at the top there, USC, Georgia Tech. Of course, I put Wake Forest on here because I went there, so we put that on our map. But we have a lot of talent here in our area, and very proud to show that when companies are coming in. And of course, our institutions of higher learning are so important. Clemson, USC with USC Med School, USC Upstate, many others, our private sector folks, Furman, Wofford. This really helps us with our level of workforce and our ability to continue to recruit, because these companies not only need the technical type graduates from our technical colleges, but also from our four-year universities. Our technical college system, really, in my opinion, it's unmatched in the country. Of course, I used to work at Tri-County Tech, so I'm a little bit biased there, but seriously, it's the availability of the technical college system to residents. As you can look at that map and see how many locations that we have now, and the ability to get funding there has just really increased a lot in the last 5 years. The governor has put in 90 million plus in the budget the last several years for in-demand positions, most of those in the manufacturing area. And this, has allowed for free tuition. So if you want to be a welder, if you want to be in mechatronics, if you want to do plastic injection molding, you can go to the technical college and for free and get your degree or credential. So that's a strong program, and I just wish more people would utilize it, honestly. Our state workforce incentive program, Ready SC, it is incredible. They've been doing it since 1961. The first company that ever went through that program was in Oconee County, called Jacobs Chuck, and we've been continuing to roll that program out since 1961. And it combines recruiting of employees with training and a project management approach from our technical college system with experts to help with that training. It's an incredible program, and it is free of charge to the companies. Apprenticeship Carolina is another really strong program that we have. It's based on the German apprenticeship model, and started in 2007, and we've served 53,000 plus apprentices. This is not only in manufacturing, but in a wide range of employment opportunities. But basically, the theory behind it is you have an employee that will work half-time at a workplace and then go for training at the technical college for the other half. And it will bring up their skill level, bring up their pay level, and also while helping the industry be more successful. And the state offers a $3,500 per employee per year tax credit that can be utilized, which is an important thing as well. So our industry sectors that we recruit are, of course, aerospace, Lockheed Martin being the leader there. Automotive, I'm going to talk about in a minute. Engineered materials. So many of our companies, not only are they doing advanced manufacturing, but they are engineering what they're manufacturing. So companies like Milliken and Toray and others are in that category. Food manufacturing has gotten to be a bigger and bigger target for us. We've had a lot of success there, particularly post-COVID. And during COVID, these companies that were operating out of the Northeast or Midwest or California that were doing food and beverage, they found out they couldn't get their products to where their customers were, which was in the Southeastern U.S. So they got smart and said, we want to put our locations in the Southeastern U.S. So had good success in recruiting some of those. Life sciences is an area that we've really been growing in a lot. The Upstate has always been very strong in medical device, but now we're getting more and more into other areas of that. And then office and professional is something that we continue to work with as well. So I know many of you are going to know all this, but I want to talk a little bit about just the power of what we have in the Upstate in automotive and mobility. Obviously, everybody knows BMW has been here since, opened in 1994. But this year we recruited a new company, Isuzu. Oshkosh Defense came in making the postal vehicles a couple years ago, and then statewide Volvo, Mercedes, Scout Motors. There are now 32 passenger OEMs, or original equipment manufacturers, of vehicles within 1 day's drive of the Upstate. We are truly the center of automotive manufacturing now. There are more OEMs and suppliers within 500 miles of Greenville, South Carolina, than there are within 500 miles of Detroit, Michigan. We also have a lot of great assets. Of course, CUI Car, where my office is located. The IC, or International Transportation Innovation Center, out at SC TATT, Test Track, other things. And then Greenville Tech Center for Manufacturing Innovation. You see a number of the companies in the automotive sector. So this map shows you where these OEMs are, which is pretty incredible. The growth back in 1994, when BMW came here, let me just say there weren't near this many on this map. But the expansion of the automotive industry in the Southeast has just been incredible. And with that has brought suppliers, and with that has just brought more and more workforce talent for us in this area. So BMW story, first full manufacturing facility outside of Germany, averaging about 1,500 vehicles daily. They made 430,000 last year. All of the X models, the X3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the i8 are being produced at the facility. 60% of the vehicles are exported to 120 countries. And of course, they built the new battery assembly facility, as well as the new investment there at the plant for EV models. This kind of shows the automotive ecosystem that we have, of course, with BMW, but others in the battery manufacturer, the Elring-Klinger doing battery cell contact systems. I mentioned Isuzu, of course, and then many others. But we really are a state that has embraced not only automotive, but the electric vehicle automotive sector and the suppliers in that as well. And I think that is going to continue to make us a leader in this moving forward. So suppliers in the area, and again, many of these, but ZF Transmissions has about 3,200 people in Lawrence County. Incredible down there. Bosch continues to be very successful in Anderson. Magna has multiple plants. Drexelmeyer that place is huge. So and Gestamp's got 2 different facilities in Union. So a lot of suppliers that have located here and have done really well. A couple that I want to mention. The first is Elring-Klinger. That was a project that we worked on. They announced last year, but then they had another announcement this year. They're going to be making the battery contact units for the electric vehicles. They're over in Pickens County. Michelin, of course, came here first manufacturing operation 1975, headquarters here since 1988, employ over 8,000 people in South Carolina. So huge asset for us. Isuzu, Japanese company, they did a $280 million investment earlier this year, 700 new jobs. Commercial trucks, both internal combustion engine and EV. And they're going to be making about 50,000 units annually when they're totally up to speed. Of course, CUI Car, an incredible facility. Clemson has courses in bachelor, master's, and PhD. Producing lots of our automotive engineers. Research and innovation, they are continually working with companies. They do projects every year in electric vehicle, and then just the facilities that they have here for testing and other things are pretty incredible. Excuse me. I mentioned a minute ago the International Transportation Innovation Center, 3-mile test track. They have test beds for automotive and a 1,700-foot durability track. Really an incredible facility if you haven't visited out there at the South Carolina Technology Aviation Center. Many of you know Jody Bryson. He's done a wonderful job in developing this facility. So, last slide. How do we help these companies that we're looking at? First of all, market research. When companies come in, they want to know about the workforce, the availability, what the wages they're going to pay. They want to know about demographics. They want to know about quality of life and livability. So we provide them with lots of this info. We also provide site selection assistance. In most cases, they're asking about an existing building or, greenfield space to put their company. And we work very closely with our 10 county economic development directors to put this together. State resource connections, our workforce training programs, providing information on that, providing info on incentives, and then any regulations that will be affecting the industries. And then we really work a lot, particularly with the smaller companies, the ones we call landing pads, to connect them with service providers, lawyers that can help them with immigration, financial and accounting that can help them get their company established and operating, construction companies if they need a new facility, HR companies that can help them find their people, and then introducing them to the people they need to know throughout the state to be successful. I will say this, our key constituency in what we do are the local economic development offices throughout the region. And we have a really strong network of economic developers that we work with. We also work very closely with the South Carolina Department of Commerce. They send us leads, and then we work with them when companies are interested in locating in our area. So, we're very appreciative of those groups, and we couldn't do what we do without them. But I'm glad to take questions. You can ask them to me the old-fashioned way, or you can put them in the chat. Just Dean, what do you want me to do?
Well, thank you, John. And we have a couple questions, and I have a couple as well. I think that's really good insight for folks to kind of see, what you are selling and how you're selling the Upstate to companies. I wanted to ask kind of first, before we get into a couple of the specific questions that have been asked. So describe a company, what are the ways that companies find the Upstate Alliance, and how does that work?
Right. So we do that in a number of ways. First of all, we have a website that has tons and tons of information that people can go on. Secondly, we do a lot of outreach through social media, through digital advertising. We do a lot of digital advertising on different websites and things about the Upstate. And so we're doing that virtually. We work a lot with site consultants. So if you're not familiar with what a site consultant is, it's someone that works for a company or individually that works with companies on selecting sites. So we probably go to maybe 4 or 5 national conferences where these site consultants go, because if you can get in front of this group of 100 to 150 site consultants that are really doing the projects, that narrows down your playing field significantly. We also work very closely with our international consul generals and trade organizations that really see a lot of companies that want to come here. So we have really good relationships with them. Then we, do lead generation. We find out about companies that would be interested in our region, and we go visit with those. We do a number of external events each year that either we plan or that we go with the South Carolina Department of Commerce, because for all that the world has changed, there's still no better way to recruit a company than to sit down in their office with them, be it in Detroit, Michigan, or Munich, Germany, and talk to them and let them know about your region. So those are some of the ways that we do it. We work with also, I guess I could say, we work with a lot of our local companies, our local real estate brokers and others. who bring us leads. We get leads from the South Carolina Department of Commerce themselves, and from our counties that they hear about, and they want to involve us in this. So yeah, lots of ways that we do it.
Well, John, we have some really good questions for
Okay.
you. So I'm going to start with a
Are they
couple.
on the chat?
Most of them are, yes.
Okay. All right. Go ahead then. Yeah.
So the first question I'll talk to you talked about ICAR and research and those kind of things. And the question is, it seems that there are some challenges in getting the corporations that are here to employ the graduates from CU ICAR, where, I still hear that a lot of them end up going to Detroit. What is that disconnect, and has that been changing?
Well, I think in some cases, or a lot of cases, it's because a lot of the technical engineering is still being done by some of these companies in Detroit. That is starting to change. Okay. I think we're seeing more and more of those graduates staying here because more and more of these companies are going to be doing things here. So I think that while that still is a thing, I think we're seeing more and more of them staying here. And there are a lot of efforts by ICAR in that program over there to get those folks to be connected with the companies that are here. But again, unfortunately, some of those jobs, not a lot of those jobs, both with the OEMs and the larger suppliers, are still located there because they've just been there for a long time. And it's hard to break that, but I think we are doing that as we get more and more of these companies locating here.
Perfect. We had a question, and I think I know the answer to this, is asking about why she didn't see any HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities, on the chart. I believe the chart that you showed just had Upstate.
Yeah, it's Upstate.
Right?
Yeah.
So the answer to that question is there are no
Right.
HBCUs located in the Upstate, but
That is
they are
correct.
still, I would assume, along with other schools across the state, engaged in the pipeline.
Yeah, they're engaged in economic development. I mean, there's some great examples of that. South Carolina State is very active. I know in working with some of the technical colleges and others around the state. I think Benedict College is gotten more involved in economic development and others. So yeah, I mean, it's just unfortunate that we don't have any of those that are located in the Upstate.
Right. Good. A very good question from Bruce Forbes, our good friend from Share, talking about wages.
Yes.
I moderated a panel a couple months ago where some of the economic developers talked about, 20 or 30 years ago, one of the attractions was cheap land, cheap labor.
Right.
And, but now that is not necessarily as much the case. How have you seen increases in wages? I mean, with the increases in costs, a family has to earn $40 an hour as a as a household income just to be able to afford housing without paying more than 30% of your wages towards housing. So, that's a large number. That's $80,000 a year. So what have you seen as it relates to wages? And I know some of the economic development organizations in the counties have put a cap that they will not, offer incentives or things to to companies that don't give wages at a certain level. Do you all
Right.
do that as well in terms of the companies that you will engage with and help bring to the Upstate?
Well, the state are the ones that basically give the incentives that are based on job creation. And if you're not at the average county wage, the state will not offer those. So, and the average county wages have gone up during my time in economic development significantly. I think the average wage in Anderson County was like $13 an hour when I was there in the mid 2000s. And now it's like 25 or so an hour. 1970, the average manufacturing wage in South Carolina was $2.35. Now, I think I use Spartanburg County for this. I think it's like $26 an hour. So we've had significant increases in, pay. I know there's been, there's inflation and all these things that you have to go in with it. But one of the reasons why we continue to recruit manufacturing is manufacturing pays higher rates than business in general. We're also trying to recruit high-tech companies that are paying way more than that, 2, 3, 4 times the county averages. So we have seen wages increase a good bit over the last, 15, 20 years in the upstate region in manufacturing. So I think it'll continue to go. We're still not at for per capita income at the levels of the US, but we're trying to make strides to get there, but doing the best we can, I guess.
So another really good question from another good friend of ours, Amy Sanders. With so much international business, how has the immigration climate impacted the economic environment and the attraction of businesses from overseas?
Well, I mean, we've gotten the most questions in regard to tariffs when we've been overseas, and the uncertainty that brings in regard to cost. In regard to immigration, I think the H-1B situation, I think that's going to have a significant effect on some of our industries here. I don't work really as much with the existing industries, so I don't know how the larger companies that are international have been affected by that, other than I know they have been affected by that. It's more for us been in regard to the uncertainty created by tariffs.
And has that reduced the number of inquiries you've gotten from overseas?
It's been a mixed bag. I would say that what we found is that on one hand, if companies were already considering coming to the U.S. and they were affected specifically by some product that they were going to have to bring over here, that it's accelerated their time frames, which is a good thing. But a bigger subset of this has been companies that are interested in locating in the U.S., but because of instability in cost and not knowing what was going to happen day to day, they kind of put plans on hold. And then there are other groups that have just said, because of the instability, we're looking at other markets, either in China or Canada or the EU. Now, since the tariffs for the EU have been put at 15%, pretty much across the board now, that has helped some because they feel like there's more stability, at least for the time being, and they don't really see those going up necessarily. A lot of people are waiting on the Supreme Court decision on the legality of using the National Defense Act for that. So we'll see about that. But now in regard to like Chinese companies that we've had here or interest from them, it's pretty much dried up since both the tariff situation and other things have come out.
When COVID hit, the Upstate started to, at that time, because people, the product supply lines and those kind of things, I remember going in your office maybe 2 or 3 months into COVID, and you guys were, just the phones were ringing off the hook. And now with some of the tariff things and companies wanting to onboard back to the United States and things, you've mentioned a couple times about, the Upstate being a place that always has had elements of manufacturing. Are you hearing from other economic development entities in other parts of the country the same level of interest that we're getting here in the Upstate, or is the fact that the way we're positioned with so many different pieces that we're one of the hotbeds, if not the hotbed, around bringing of new manufacturing and things because of some of these things that have happened over the last 5 years?
Well, I mean, I think that let me first say that just like this year, we've had a lot more activity this year than we had in 2024 or 2023 of projects looking here. We've sent out more RFIs, we call it requests for information, to our local developers. We probably end up double the amount that we did in 2024. And 2024 was a really good, really solid year. So it just continues to be good here. I can't really speak to the other areas of the country. I mean, I think business is really good throughout the southeastern U.S., and that's what we focus on the most. Um, I think all of the states in the southeast are continuing to do pretty well for a lot of reasons. But I, in the overall, the instability and uncertainty has not hurt us that much. Costs have gone up. A lot of the industries that have been affected by tariffs during 2025 have said they've been eating their costs as opposed to passing them on to consumers, but you can just do that for so long. And I think we'll see some problems with prices in 2025.
Good, thank you. A couple more questions. Question about you mentioned site selection companies. What is I would just the question is, do most companies bring have their own business development wing that looks for sites, or is it common for site selectors? Or I would assume it was probably a combination depending on how big a company is. But what is it typical? Is it typical for you all to work with site selectors, or is it, often that companies have their own wings, business development that will lead that process? What does that look like?
I mean, the larger companies will have business development folks that do that, but they still get site consultants to help them. I would say, well, this year, as we've tracked it, about 60% of our company leads and projects that we've been working with are coming from site consultants. So I would say, a good percentage of the larger projects use these site consultants. Smaller projects, not so much, but the larger ones that we see in manufacturing, again, about 60% of them use those. So that's why that subset of professional site selectors is so important to us.
Great. And the last question from Elise Ashby is, what initiatives and opportunities do y'all have for small or rural businesses and also for entrepreneurs? I know you guys don't necessarily work with entrepreneurs, but for small or rural businesses or bringing business to the more rural counties, what do you guys do there?
Well, I mean, again, we're recruiting mostly from manufacturing. So, and what we, hopefully do is that we give opportunities to all 10 of our counties in regard to that. We don't really get involved in small business. That's just not part of what we do. Now, some of these companies are smaller, and we, of course, give opportunities to our rural communities as well. And some of them fit better in a rural community than they would in a larger community because of wages and things like that. But yeah, we're not focusing on the entrepreneurship and things like that. Now, that being said, we work very closely with Next here in Greenville on different things, and we certainly support them as they have companies that they're working with. But in regard to small business, that's more of a focus probably for the local economic development offices, and in some cases the chambers.
So I was last question. I was at an event yesterday and talking to a couple of folks who are working on legislation that will provide funding for corporations to bring their C-suites more to South Carolina. South Carolina has not historically been a state that has the most senior leadership for a lot of the companies that have plants and things here in South Carolina. How important is getting more corporate headquarters to for the work you do, and then holistically for the state of South Carolina?
Well, we have, office professional is one of our areas. And do you want me to give the pat answer I'm supposed to give, or the answer that I really think?
You're amongst friends. You can tell us.
Okay. It's very difficult to recruit corporate headquarters just from other areas unless you have a high number of finance professionals and other professionals that are going to be able to staff that. For example, like we're not going to be able to recruit a corporate headquarters that's looking at Chicago and Los Angeles and New York and Atlanta. Okay, that's now what we can recruit, and in a lot of cases, it's not a recruitment, it just occurs, is working with existing companies that will then bring their North American headquarters or whatever to our area. But it's very difficult to recruit a corporate headquarters. If you say, hey, I'm going to build this big building in my downtown, and because we've got the big building now, we can, recruit a corporate headquarters in here because we got a really cool looking building. That's not how it works. You've got to have the workforce and all of the positions that they're going to need when they come in. And also, we have a great airport at GSP. Obviously, it's fantastic. But if these companies are wanting direct flights all over the world, that can affect and that can have a part to that too. And I know there have been a couple of headquarters that have looked here over the last 10 or so years that have not come here. And part of that was the airport. Again, nothing against our airport, but the fact that Charlotte, Atlanta have that, it's difficult to defeat that. But the biggest thing is the number in your workforce for these large corporate headquarters.
Great. Well, thank you, John. This has been very insightful, and hopefully everybody appreciates getting kind of a sneak peek of the work that you all do and how economic development works here in the Upstate. And I see some things in the chat, Earl, with the small business, okay, Earl, tell me again. I was going to say with Small Business Development Center, because I know you're not with them anymore.
Yeah, it's a hard habit to break, Small
Yeah.
Business Development Center. I'm with the Small Business Administration, so
Thank you.
yeah, we've got plenty of resources in that category for rural businesses and business development in the rural areas. So anybody that needs anything there, just reach out to me. I've dropped my email in there 2 or 3 times in the chat. But we're also looking for National Small Business Week award nominees. So those would be things like Veteran-Owned Business of the Year, Woman-Owned Business of the Year, those types of things. If that's something that interests you, if you can self-nominate, or if you know of a business, you can nominate a business. Again, reach out to me directly. I can get you the forms. It's pretty quick and easy to get somebody in the running for that. And it's great PR, doesn't cost anybody anything. So I would really encourage anybody that has a good nominee to get a hold of us.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Earl. And John, again, thank you so much for sharing with us. And
Thanks,
this has been
Dean.
very insightful, and I look forward to seeing you here in a few minutes.
All right. And thanks for what you do. And thanks to 10 at the Top for what y'all do as well.
Well, thank you. You're very welcome. Okay, so this is our last TATT Chat, and actually our last big event of 2025. Hard to believe that. We are moving the time for TATT Chats. So starting in January, we will be having TATT Chat at 10 o'clock in the morning. Our registration numbers are always very strong, but then by the end of the day, we have people who end up with other things happening and can't make the call. So we're going to see if that will help us get even more folks involved with these chats. So the first one for 2026 and the first one in the morning, our topic is going to be tourism marketing in the Upstate. And we have 4 great tourism marketing professionals in the Upstate who are going to be our experts. Tim Todd with Discover Upcountry, Kelly McWhorter from Discover Greenwood, Billy Dunlap with One Spartanburg, and then Heath Dillard with Visit Greenville. So we'll send out the information about that, and I hope you'll be able to join us in January. But until then, please enjoy all the holidays that are coming up in the next few weeks. I hope everybody has a safe and blessed holiday time, and that we will get to see you again in person in the new year. So
Dean,
thank you.
Dean,
Yes.
thank y'all. But what's the date of that tourism?
Oh, I'm sorry. It is January 8th, which we're sticking to the second Thursday of every month. So
Okay.
it'll be January 8th at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.